Welcome to the Juice Box with Juice Springsteen, covering the week that was in professional wrestling. It's the most exciting time if you're a wrestling fan. The calendar is January, but for wrestling fans, it's Rumble season, which is the precipice of the road to WrestleMania. And here on the Juice Box, we've got you covered. It's yours truly, Juice Springsteen, with the one, the only, Josh Isenberg, here for the Royal Rumble 2026 predictions. How are you doing, Josh?
I'm doing great, Juice. I'm excited. This is my favorite time of year, and lo and behold, we are not going to have to be up until midnight, 1 a.m. to watch the Royal Rumble because on our Eastern time zone is a 2 p.m. kickoff. So excited to dive into all of the who, what, when, where, why situations that always come with the Royal Rumble. And as much as people wanted to say the road to WrestleMania started at the Netflix, 1 year anniversary, this is the beginning on the road to WrestleMania.
It absolutely is, and I agree with you. I'm in lockstep with Michael Cole. I think this is my favorite PLE of the year. WrestleMania is great, and that's almost like I kind of separate it where everybody loves WrestleMania. Everybody's going to watch it. It's like the Super Bowl, but for just in general excitement, the Royal Rumble gives you now with it being a concise card. Two great random matches, more often than not, one for a title or maybe two. And then you get bookends of the night with Rumble matches with the men and the women. And you get, we have so many people announced thus far, but you're going to get surprises. You're going to get things you're not expecting. And like you said, sure, the Raw Netflix anniversary could be the road to WrestleMania. I don't buy that for a second. As soon as the Royal Rumble kicks off, everything that happens on that show bleeds into the Raw and SmackDown. It kicks things off. You get feuds beginning in the Rumble match, and the champions coming out of the Rumble are important. The winners of the Rumble are important because after that, they only have the Elimination Chamber to have a chance at a world title shot. So, man, 4 matches. This is the 14th event for WWE in Saudi Arabia for their 10-year plan, which I can't believe we've gotten this far. It started, was 2017 or 2018. We've already even had the greatest Royal Rumble. So they created their own venue for this thing. I'm hyped. Yeah. What just particularly for you, even if it is just the Rumble matches, what in particular are you looking forward to just looking at this card as a whole? 4 matches in total.
So the biggest thing I'm looking for is I can honestly make a case for 5 or 6 men and women in each Royal Rumble match to become the winner. I think last year, Jey Uso, it was a surprise because you already saw Jey and Gunther.
Not to you, boy.
A year ago, but you reneged a few times from that year.
But I just didn't think they were going to do it. What moron would actually make Jey Uso win the Rumble? Because now look. He's a bum. He's a tag champ, and Gunther's retiring people. Should have been Gunther.
I agree. No, I completely get that. But I think when you look at this now, you see who's the best person for Punk to face, right? Who's the best person for Drew? Because I think Drew will walk into WrestleMania, spoiler alert, as champion to face. And there's so many options on each card. Do you go with young guys who've never been world champion before? Do you go with an established person because you're back at WrestleMania in Las Vegas? Do you need the marquee to look just as good as it did a year ago? Maybe. So when I look at the men, I can name 5 or 6 that I wouldn't be surprised. Last year, Jey might have been that outlier, but even so, he was so popular. So it wasn't a shock. It was it's a shock how it got there, right? Like with John Cena, and you knew John Cena was going to compete in a championship match, which he actually ended up main eventing WrestleMania, and Jey Uso kicked off WrestleMania. So it comes to me
that too. You make a good point, real quick. The fact that John Cena is not a part of this truly will. It is the start of the new era without John Cena even being a part of it. He even said as such in that interview with Tom Rinaldi, I believe,
Yeah.
look, after I'm done, December 13th, a random Saturday night's main event at the end of the year, only a few more weeks after that, the Royal Rumble is going to start, and I'm going to be an afterthought. And
Yeah.
lo and behold, here we go, a Royal Rumble without that lingering John Cena story. So now WWE's kind of, what are you going to do? You can't hinge on that one story. So I like where they're going with that. Continue.
I do. Yeah. And I like where they're going with that too, because on Monday Night Raw, you see so many individuals that could either compete against, the SmackDown, the WWE champion, or the World Heavyweight champion on Raw. And there's options. And I think I have an idea of where they want to go with it. But as you know, they always throw a curveball in there. Now, I will say the curveball last year of Jey Uso, in retrospect, he had his moment, and then a couple of months later, he dropped the title. Now, I'm not saying that the Royal Rumble winner has to become world champion, because if you look at the stats, you see it's 17 and 13. So winners of the Royal Rumble have gone on 17 times to become champion. 13 times they lost. And then you also had the two, Stone Cold Steve Austin in 97 had to basically win his champion or win his opportunity back. And then Vince McMahon obviously didn't, cash in his obviously in 1999. So when you look at the individuals who have competed in world championship matches because they won the Royal Rumble, it's not a guarantee. So it's interesting right now because with Punk as champion, it's hard for me to see him lose at WrestleMania because he's lost at WrestleMania last year. And it's hard for me to see Drew potentially losing because Drew just won the title. So a lot of things to get into here, Juice. So it's going to be a long but good discussion that we talk about all of the what ifs and who ifs that appear at WrestleMania, that appear at the Royal Rumble that could go on to WrestleMania.
And I agree with that. The fact that you got, we kind of have that now with the Money in the Bank as well as time goes on, the success rate. And not just if you win it, but can you cash in successfully? And now, ever since 93, where the winner of the Rumble gets a shot at the world champion, 17 and 13 is not that great of a record. You've got The Miz retaining against John Cena. So, like, even the most unlikely of champions going into the show of shows still retain. So you never really know what you're going to get. And we'll talk about it when we get there, but especially with CM Punk, I had thought, and it, of course, things could happen. Who really knows? But the Elimination Chamber takes place in Chicago. And I had thought that, boy, what a perfect time. Punk can win the chamber there. That's how he gets his match at WrestleMania. Now he's world champion, and it's very conceivable that he could be maybe defending the championship in a chamber match or defending it at the chamber itself to kind of, anchor that PLE with the chamber separate from Punk. But Punk could easily walk into WrestleMania as champion, and that's where the intricacies lie of who will face him if that's the case, assuming that's the case. And I have my own thoughts. We'll talk about that down the line. But let's kick things off with something that has kind of come out of nowhere, yet has gained a lot of steam in the last week because, damn it, they're just putting him in great matches. Career-threatening match. And I say that in the realm of Ric Flair because this is exactly how it's portrayed, where if you lose this match, you're done. Now, Flair had consistent matches of no matter when it was, the next match you lose, you're done, and it culminated at WrestleMania. This particular match is a rematch for Gunther and AJ after, they had their match before. Gunther tapped, but he didn't. The ref didn't see it and what have you. Now we get AJ Styles, Gunther. If AJ loses, he's forced to retire. And Josh, I'll present you with a couple things. AJ Styles in the last week has wrestled CM Punk and Shinsuke Nakamura within the last 3 days even. So AJ's been put on such a high pedestal that he has said 2026 is his, end of his wrestling career. But if you remember last year, I think they went to Japan they went to Japan recently, and they gave him they put him on his shoulders on AJ's, on the other wrestler's shoulders and kind of presented him to the crowd almost as if they were doing a retirement wink, wink tour.
Sure.
Where John Cena had a pronounced tour, as we discussed. AJ Styles has been quietly getting these big matches, including a match with John Cena, out of the way. And if you remember, AJ got that incredible intro that Cena gave to him that he didn't give to any other person that he wrestled, which signals to me AJ is thinking about hanging it up in 26. My question to you, Josh, because friend of the show, Blake Mitchemore, posted this, and I thought this, but when he said this exactly on Raw, my WWE career could be done. This makes me think AJ Styles will lose this match. And, I don't think he's going to go to AEW. However, I think that'd be fascinating considering that's more of an AJ Styles work rate type of thing. But I think he's got some stake left in TNA to make one more run. What say you about this? In a whirlwind, AJ Styles could retire in WWE in a day or two.
Yeah, this is, I mean, the big thing about this is it's not like Ric Flair and MVP in 08 where you had...
I forgot about that match.
Yeah, you had no reason to believe that MVP was going to retire Ric Flair, right? Like his career-threatening match. You just knew it wasn't going to happen. Here you think it now might happen, right? Like I see Gunther being this career killer in a couple of different parts. One, the Goldberg thing, okay, Bill Goldberg, fine. We knew he's a legend. He hasn't been around consistently. You knew that was going to happen, right? John Cena's last match, you knew he was already out the door, and he had a 1-year build-up to, his retirement match. This takes you really blindsided, confused at first last week when they announced it. But then, like you said, all the things that he's done, AJ Styles deserves whatever he wants, however he wants to do it, but he's not at the level in WWE as John Cena where you want to see him for an entire year. And I think, to be honest with you, I think Styles kind of saw that 1-year John Cena run with, he's going to be done in December. He's calling his last date. I don't think Styles really needs that. I think Styles is more of a guy that I do think he loses. I do think it's kind of like the final knife in the heart of the WWE universe. They really didn't care Goldberg was retiring. They had a year to prepare for John Cena retiring. And now it's just, oh, wow, dang, like this is one of our favorite in-ring performers in the past decade for WWE. He's going to retire before we even really came to cope with it. So there's 3 different ways to look about the progression of how Gunther is eliminating all of these legends. And I think Gunther will win in a cheap way. Not that he needs to. I don't think he just destroys AJ Styles. I think something happens where Gunther finds a way to win, like sometimes he always does. And I'm okay with him beating AJ Styles, even though I don't want that to happen. But then AJ can go to TNA, and I do think AJ gets his last hurrah there. As much as WWE has invested cross-promoting with TNA, they really haven't given them a really massive big gun to go on that show. And what better way than AJ Styles being done with WWE and really finishing off his career with the company that made AJ Styles who he is. I understand Bullet Club, Ring of Honor, New Japan, all that stuff. But
it was TNA that put him on the map.
Yeah, exactly.
It was, and I agree with you too. Like, and I made fun of this on the first episode of TNA on AMC. The first thing they did was bring out AJ Styles, which I thought was incredible.
Yeah.
But they had him cut a rah promo. And to me, I'm like, if you're gonna use him, you gotta set up a match or set up something. And I think that was just enough of a tease, especially considering during a backstage promo on that episode of Impact, AJ Styles looked at Frankie Kazarian when he was TNA champion before he lost to Santana and glared at the championship, the world title. And it definitely came off as, man, I think I want to do this. One more. I gotta try it, maybe. And I think it's even more to your point, Josh. I think AJ Styles sees the John Cena thing and its ups and downs and goes, I kind of like the understated retirement. Like, not many people are going to assume this is going to happen. How poetic would it be that I go out at the Royal Rumble 10 years after I debuted at the Royal Rumble, and I can kind of quietly go out, but then reappear in TNA and make some great moments and matches on the last little run here. Yeah. And I mean, why not have him win the title or have him win the title and then retire or have his last match at Bound for Glory? Just very, very obvious things that I think WWE has no issue in giving AJ Styles if that's what he wants to do.
Yeah, I agree.
Because AJ has given so much to WWE in the last 10 years. I don't see why not.
Yeah, and AJ Styles has really been the, in my mind, the outsider that was not really WWE homegrown, the most successful. I mean, when you look at his, even just looking at his WrestleMania resume, you know, with Jericho and then Shane and then 34 with Shinsuke, that match he wanted, obviously, you know,
Yeah.
Randy Orton, Undertaker. I mean, these are names that are synonymous with WWE. And I think WWE has done AJ a real great service of anytime they needed a competitor to hop to the main number one contender spot, they gave AJ Styles that because they know what he can do. And I think, you know, Triple H knows what he can do, but there's just not a ton left of AJ Styles, what he can do in WWE. And he's in phenomenal shape, pun intended. I mean, he looks
Yeah.
incredible in his, you know, mid 40s. But at the same time, I think this is the right opportunity for AJ to bid adieu and go to TNA for, you know, a couple of months, and then, I mean, heck, he's going to be back in WWE in some sort of backstage role. This is a guy that is so smart in the business and somebody who has been able to be the number one guy in multiple promotions, where that is invaluable to have as a backstage talent.
Absolutely. I think he can launch into a producer role, a coach role, something to help the younger talent and frame the future of WWE. I mean, frame the future of TNA if he wanted to, or
Yeah.
NXT. I think there's so much there that he can contribute to. And, you know, I think he referenced it. I can't recall where, but AJ brought up the fact that, like, sure, I look great or whatever, and you see me doing these matches and everything, but you don't see the preparation it takes, the care I have to put my body through to get it to this level at this age. And at some point, I just, you know, it has to change, and I have to, you know, I just got to stop trying to, you know, pushing myself. You don't want to, you know, Undertaker said it too. You don't want to get to a point where it's obvious that you should have retired earlier. You
Yeah,
want to
he
kind of
lost a step. Yeah.
yeah, you want to nip that as soon as you can. It's tough to time. And, you know, with wrestlers retiring on their own these days, thank God, because before it was, well, we don't know. We never knew that it was their last match, and then it was their last match. And that was always
We
rough.
know even Triple H, we never knew that was going to be his last match, and health reasons
right.
he overtook that. So, yeah. So you have Gunther as well?
I do. I have Gunther winning. I've bounced around this idea a lot. I want Gunther to, like, what is Gunther's goal? What's his goal for WrestleMania? Is it a match with Brock Lesnar? Because if it's not for the World Championship, because if Gunther goes for the world title, you would assume he wins at WrestleMania, right? Because he's on an ascending path because of these guys. But if he's not going to wrestle for that world title at all, you got to have him in a high-profile match that you would think he wins. And to me, that next match is against Brock Lesnar, a match that's been teased for a very long time. But how do you set that up? And I don't know if this is the avenue to do it. And if this isn't the way to do it, when would you do that, Josh? How could that make sense other than just Gunther coming out saying, hey, I've beaten everybody and blah, blah, blah. The stuff that they've done, you know, ad nauseum.
Yeah, I don't know. I still think it'll be Gunther and Lesnar. Everybody thinks that, you know, if Lesnar's going to be the next one up, that he ends his career, why not in Minneapolis for SummerSlam? Sure. I guess I get that, but at the same time, I don't think Brock Lesnar being from Minneapolis has the cachet that like a John Cena from Massachusetts or CM Punk from Chicago or, you know, any really Canadian, any Canadian from Canada. So I don't really see that being a huge thing. I don't think Brock really cares about that, nor WWE needs to. SummerSlam sells itself. I don't necessarily see it a retirement match at WrestleMania against Brock Lesnar. I mean, but still, it's been what, 3 years now or 3 years that we've thought we would get Gunther and Lesnar, and it hasn't happened. That match itself doesn't need a stipulation on it. It's just, this is a guy that's retiring all these people. Can he actually beat Brock Lesnar? Yeah, that's an interesting question that you bring up. I don't know how they get there. I think it's very simple. If you know, Gunther enters the Rumble and eliminates Lesnar, that's just an easy way to go about it, knowing that Lesnar is only going to be there 50% of the time on Monday Night Raw. So there's not a huge story. I think that in the Lesnar story in general, I love seeing Lesnar, but there's never really a big story around Lesnar going into WrestleMania because he is the story. Right. Whoever faces him, he is the story. So
I think you actually have it reversed. I think if Gunther and Lesnar are in the Rumble, I think you have Lesnar eliminate Gunther because that gives Gunther a reason to, okay, you think you still have this? Let's go. Let's have a match.
Yeah,
And I
I
think
agree.
Lesnar would be game for that.
Yeah, me too.
So that, who knows? We'll talk about the Rumble here in a little bit, but yeah, it's crazy. I remember where I was when AJ Styles came into WWE after being a fan of his in TNA and Ring of Honor for so long. It's wild to be like, oh, he'll never go to WWE, and
10 years later, here he is.
now he's here about to retire. It is pretty wild that if it happens over in Saudi Arabia.
Sure.
I know a lot of fans probably not have a problem with it, but they're kind of puzzled by it. They're like, oh, well, wouldn't you assume he wants to do it in the States where, a lot of his fans probably are primarily. And to me, I agree with that. Yet if he's going to do a TNA run, that'll more than likely.
Yeah.
Look at that. Yeah. You want to get some ratings. You want to pop some huge attendance numbers. You get AJ Styles in his final matches in TNA. I think that's a smart move. No?
Mm-hmm. Yep. I agree.
Yeah. All right. Let's get into another singles match. The only other one on this card. Sami Zayn challenges Drew McIntyre for the undisputed WWE Championship. This feud between these two has, it's been for a few years these two have interacted. And it's pretty unique how they've got here. They had a fatal four-way after a mini tournament where Sami Zayn ends up winning the match this past Saturday on Saturday night's main event in Montreal, where normally I would have wagered, he would have lost because it's in a hometown thing.
Sure.
Now he goes to Saudi Arabia where he's incredibly over, which is more of a reason for me to think Drew McIntyre is going to win and retain his title here. It was kind of a shock, but I'm happy that they pulled the trigger on Drew winning the WWE title. I think Cody Rhodes is so much better as a chasing babyface or just doing something else, because he's so damn popular. He doesn't really need the title, and we've already finished the story. So, push him to some side stories for a while. And now we get Drew. And how much more heat can you get on Drew? Have him retain against Sammy in a place where Sammy is incredibly over. So, Josh, I present the match to you. Drew, Sammy, who do you got?
Yeah, I got Drew McIntyre as well. I love that they pulled the trigger with them actually putting the title on Drew on a SmackDown because that just rarely happens. The way they did it protected Cody, elevated Cody into another storyline with Jacob Fatu. And I think this is the perfect opponent, for Drew. Drew got a lot of love because they were international, and people were starting to kind of boo Cody a little bit, because Drew McIntyre is that international champion. What better way than you're still, across the seas? And well, Sami Zayn actually is very loved in Saudi Arabia. So why not have him as the first challenger, gaining more heat on Drew McIntyre, giving Sami another obstacle to overcome. And when we talk about the men's rumble, I'm sure we'll talk about if he'll be in there or not. But I do think McIntyre wins this match. I don't see McIntyre losing the championship going into WrestleMania. I think, as you've seen McIntyre, whenever he had his championship match at WrestleMania 37, he was the challenger against Bobby Lashley when the pandemic ended and fans were brought back. And then 38, 39, 40, he was a challenger, with the Intercontinental Championship, the World Championship, and then last year with Damian Priest, not really a championship match. So I think when you look at McIntyre, him walking in as world champion makes the opponents a little more intriguing as Drew champion comparative to Drew challenger. Drew challenger is always fun because you always have wanted to see him come across as the guy because he looks incredible, right? He looks like a world champion. He passes the airport test. But I like McIntyre walking into WrestleMania as champion, maybe not having a title match even until WrestleMania after Saturday. I'm going to go with McIntyre winning this, and the idea of Sami Zayn getting into the Rumble will be intriguing to talk about here in a few.
Absolutely. And that, we'll definitely talk about that. Drew McIntyre, as you said, it's funny as a babyface, winning the big one would be great for Drew McIntyre, but they never gave us that really. And yet they flipped it and we're actually like almost more intrigued because he's a better heel. And it almost takes seeing both sides of it for you to realize, maybe Drew is a much better bad guy than he is a good guy. Yeah. If you recall, winning the Royal Rumble, as of this recording 6 years ago yesterday, after he wins that Royal Rumble, then he goes and wins, the title without any fans. It just didn't have as much fanfare, literally, as, or pizzazz, juice, whatever you want to call it, as a title win with fans would have done as a babyface now. So, 6 years later, he's one of the best bad guys they have. It makes a lot more sense. Let's build up some new good guys, and especially with the influx of talent. And we'll talk about that when we get to the men's Rumble. But the amount of new good guys that you got to kind of insert into the picture here grows. The depth grows when you have a guy like Drew as champion. So, and it also gives the main event scene a little bit more breathing room for a Cody, a Jacob Fatu. They can do their own thing on the side, yet I could easily see either of those guys getting into the main event. So I think Drew wins. Like you said, I agree with you. I think he ultimately retains his championship. Uber heat on him for winning. It'll be cool to see Sami Zayn get so close, but I just don't think I think if Sami Zayn's going to win the world title at WrestleMania, it either happens at WrestleMania this year or it happens next year in Saudi, where it could still line up for him to do it.
Yeah, I agree with that.
So ultimately, let's get to what we're here for: the Royal Rumble match. We'll start off with the women. We've got 17 of the 30 entrants announced. I'm going to briefly go through them all. Io Sky, Rhea Ripley, Roxanne Perez, Liv Morgan, Raquel Rodriguez, Bayley, Lyra Valkyria, Asuka, Chelsea Green, Jordan Grace, Charlotte, Alexa Bliss, Nia Jax, Lash Legend, Julia, Maxine Dupree, and Becky Lynch. Almost all of those competitors I could see winning this damn thing. It's crazy where they've come and how much they've built the talent on the women's side. Someone that's not in there that I'm going to say I think wins if she's entered. My official pick. If she's not in there, then it is what it is. But I am picking Bianca Belair to win the Royal Rumble for the women. I think it's time. I think it's a way to get her against Jade. And I don't know. That's where I see things kind of going once we get towards WrestleMania time. Now, if Bianca doesn't somehow make it in, or if she doesn't win it, I'll pick a backup. I think Liv Morgan has a strong case to win this thing. What say you, Josh?
I think so. I actually have the same too. And the reason
come on.
I know. Trust me, I don't want to agree with you. You're never right.
I know.
But I do think whenever you look at Bianca Belair, she's been gone for so long. She'll get a great reaction to come back to. Jade has not done much with the championship, and I think that there's a reason for that. I think she gets a match with Jordan Grace at Elimination Chamber. I think you give her that match, or even on a SmackDown before Chamber, to be honest with you. It's interesting because I think the person who deserves it the most is Liv Morgan. And I think it's because Liv comes back, and aside from Rhea Ripley, Liv as a heel has the biggest pop of any woman on the roster. And then you'd say, well, why not Rhea Ripley? I think WWE, the past 3 months, we've seen them really put an emphasis on the women's tag team championships. And this is a good way to have a very high-profile tag team championship match at WrestleMania with Rhea, Io, Charlotte, Alexa, Bayley, and Lyra, right? Like, make that match important because they really have been, intertwined for the past few months. But then you also have the Kabuki Warriors, which you can, if you want to, you can throw them in there. But I don't necessarily see Liv Roxanne or Liv Raquel needing to be in that tag team championship match to get their moment. So that leaves me to believe, well, what if Liv wins the Rumble and Liv gets her real WrestleMania moment? She's had some good moments, but not on the big stage. And Liv is the most over female not named Rhea Ripley right now. And you're supposed to hate her, but you don't because you realize how good she is on the mic. Her personal development from, I would say, 1.5 years, 2 years ago to now, really getting in with Dom Mysterio, the Judgment Day. I think she eliminates Rhea if Bianca is not in the Rumble. But if Bianca's in the Rumble, that throws a real curveball in here because then that's the easy way of getting Bianca and Jade. But then you can go, well, Elimination Chamber's coming back. So it's funny because I used to love the Rumble and I still love it more than anything. but there's still that second chance at Chamber.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. But I'm going to go with Liv Morgan to win. That's my definitive pick. I think Bianca does come back. I think Bianca makes a very strong case of getting back, but I don't want to see somebody who just immediately returns after a handful of months to win the Royal Rumble, similar to what Charlotte did last year, because I do think it could cause some backlash for Bianca if she's been gone for 6 months, comes back and wins the Rumble.
True. Now, I also was under the belief that I didn't fully buy that Bianca was, had her hands clean of the whole Jade thing back last year. And, Naomi not being here, I think that you could easily come up with, hey, Bianca was a part of that and she wins it, but she is a heel going against Jade. Like she wins the Rumble. She says, I wanted Jade Cargill. Oh, it's so friendly. And then they reveal that Bianca was actually a part of that back then. And now she can take advantage of that. I think there's some story there. Bianca, if she were to win, this would be her second Rumble, tying her with Charlotte. I could also see Rhea Ripley winning this thing. She's always at the top. And she's always, like you said, probably one of the top, if not two, most, getting a reaction of any, man or woman on the rosters.
Yeah.
So I could see her winning as well. It's just interesting. If it's none of the women that are revealed thus far, I wonder who could even come in. I'm very curious to see the other 13. Will we see a Trish or a Lita?
Yeah.
There's so many.
You'll see Nikki Bella, I'm sure.
Yeah, you'll probably see her. There's so many. We could see Brandy Rhodes, maybe. You could see someone that, this is where it's interesting. I don't necessarily see her winning this match if she shows up here, but if AJ Lee shows up, I could see her eliminating Becky Lynch.
Yep.
And then I could see AJ Lee, potentially winning the Chamber, maybe. If there's a lot going on where in Chicago, there's a lot going on with AJ Lee and Becky Lynch, and the fact that the Intercontinental title could be a part of that too. Like all these championships are not less than because they're being held by top tier talent. So
absolutely,
I'd like to see any of those things happen. I'd love to see Liv Morgan win if it's not Bianca. I think that'd be really cool for her, especially since she's won a lot, and I think what Money in the Bank as well.
Yeah, she won Money in the Bank. She beat Ronda Rousey a few times. Yeah,
she was the Crown Jewel champion.
Yeah, so she's looking Saudi.
Yeah, so that'd be really cool. Ultimately, I'm going to go with Bianca Belair and stick with that, assuming she's even in the match. So, fingers crossed.
Of course, that's a good choice. And that's what I thought too, because that's the easy, and easy is sometimes good, but that's the easy, like, okay, it's going to be her and Jade, and then you can figure everything else out. You can figure out, will it be Liv and Stephanie Vicaire? Will Stephanie drop it somehow? Like, it's interesting because there are so many options. I mean, I wouldn't be shocked if somehow Io Sky could win this because Io is super popular too. But again, it goes back to like when I see that with the WrestleMania card, what I think looks like they're going to put their heavy hitting women that are actually in tag teams, which they haven't had in a long time. Like multiple tag teams that are legitimate, that they're not just singles competitors together, even though they are, but they've developed relationships, they've developed matches, championships to put them on that card. Because you can't have a WrestleMania card without all those women, and there's so many talented women. So why not make the undercard, quote unquote, undercard of women of the IC title and the women's tag team championships just as interesting, if not more, than the world championship for the women?
Right, and I think something else that we're kind of maybe not ignoring, but it's just tough to forecast. So certain types of matches ahead of WrestleMania. I would wager there's a good chance that we see a triple threat of some sort. Sure. Whether it's for a world title match or not, featuring, three of the women we've probably thrown around there, whether that's for the world or WWE women's title. I think that's so easy for them to kind of go, hey, we got three women that have a shot at this. What are we going to do with them? They're not involved with anything. Let's do a triple threat, and I think there's so much room to accomplish that. You could look, what if you had Charlotte, Alexa Bliss, and then a third, and then you have the dynamic of those tag wrestlers, the best friends, and there's a conflict there. Or Liv and Roxanne versus someone in a triple threat. Like
Sure.
There's
Yeah.
so many different avenues to parlay off the tag teams.
Yeah.
So it's a two-pronged thing where you get great tag team wrestling out of it, but you can also utilize them as a, hey, this is an interesting avenue for a triple threat. I don't, you know what I'd love to see is some sort of combination of, just for instance, what if it was Roxanne versus Liv versus Charlotte versus Alexa, where both tag teams wrestlers
Yeah.
or tag teams are in there, but it's a fatal four-way for something.
Sure.
Like, I think that the possibilities are kind of endless there, and I think that's a good problem to have if you're WWE.
Well, let me ask you this question as
Sure.
we wrap up the women's.
Yeah.
Aside from the Nikki Bellas or Trish Stratus, Lita, give me a wild card pick of somebody who could be in this women's Rumble match.
Yeah, and outside of AJ Lee, because I think she's definitely going to make an appearance. Man, I mean,
it could be an NXT, it could be a TNA, it could be
Yeah, I mean, maybe an Indy Hartwell, maybe.
Okay.
I could see that. I'm trying to think of other women that have kind of been off the radar. I mean, Chelsea Green's already involved, or otherwise I'd say, she's an obvious person to kind of insert herself in there. Is there anybody you're thinking of in particular from either of those brands that you're like, you know what? Like I said, Brandy Rhodes would be interesting, even if it's just for, a quick little shot.
I mean, realistically, for me, I think a few surprises, not like massive surprises, but I think a few surprises for the women could be a Sol Ruka. It could be Azaria.
Yeah, I could see a Sol Ruka.
Yeah, I could see somebody like that. But WWE has done a good job over the years of making sure that the NXT champions, whether it be men or women, get in there. So like a JC Jane, even though she's not the sexiest, surprise of all time, but she is the NXT women's champion. So I think that you'll get 2 or 3 NXT people there. I think a Sol and JC, or again, Sol and Zarya, whomever they want to decide with that. And then I also think that you can get maybe one TNA person.
I was going to say that as well. Someone from TNA, I would wager. That's why I said Indy Hartwell, but there's other women on that roster for sure.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, one of the Iconics could be there. Whoever it is, really. But
maybe both of them if you want.
I mean, yeah, because realistically, you said how many women are announced so far?
17. So there's 13 left.
Yeah, so you can think 5 of those 17 probably are going to be, potential TNA or NXT talent. I don't think any like debuting women will be in the Rumble, but you never know.
Probably not. Yeah, you never know. Anything can happen in the World Wrestling Federation. All right. Well, speaking of anything can happen, it's the one we've been waiting for. Adam Pearce says it's full, but looks like 15 out of the 30 have been announced. Men's Royal Rumble. Man, this could go on for a long time with the amount of intrigue. I'm going to go over the announced people real quick. Cody Rhodes, Gunther, Jey Uso, Rey Mysterio. Man, almost every one of those guys has won the damn Rumble, which is pretty insane at this point. Which is funny. Gunther's the only one that has it out of those 4.
Yeah.
And it could be his year. Dragon Lee, Penta, Roman Reigns, Solo Sikoa, Jacob Fatu, Braun Breaker, Logan Paul, Bronson Reed, Austin Theory, Javon Evans, and most recently, Oba Femi.
Mm-hmm.
Man, give me Oba Femi, the Diesel run, or the Roman Reigns run. Let him take out 8, 10 guys. I think that's, make him make an impact. If Brock Lesnar's in this match, give me an Oba Femi Brock Lesnar stare down, and Oba Femi Gunther stare down, Braun Breaker. I mean, there's so many things that can happen with Oba in particular. Man, I love that. I'm kind of on the fence with the Vision, especially without Seth Rollins at the helm. It's kind of just guys under Paul Heyman, yet Braun Breaker is clearly the standout there. And I liked the direction of, hey, full-timer Logan Paul saying, you know what? We're all in this thing. I think Braun should win it.
Yeah.
Like, I kind of like that. It's selfish for the team, but it's selfless for himself. And I kind of like that out of a guy that's, selfish like Logan Paul. So the dynamics are there. Could Cody win his 3rd in 4 years, making him the only person other than Austin to win 3? Could Gunther jettison himself into a world title match at WrestleMania? Is it just going to be Roman's Rumble to lose? So many things to go here. Josh, I'll just kick it to you. Give me some of your thoughts. And lastly, but I don't think Sami Zayn's in this match. I picked him to win shortly after WrestleMania last year. He gets the world title match, so I think he's probably not in it. But damn, you imagine if that world title match is first or second, he loses, he still gets in the Rumble, that pop. What do you got?
Oh, man, this is a tough one.
It is every year, but just even 15 people there, and it's stacked as hell.
I know, yeah, and I think, like, if I had to just say, okay, this is probably what's going to happen, and I won't be upset about it, I think it'd be Roman to win. But if they want to hold that off to Elimination Chamber, where they find out who Punk faces, or whatever, I'd be okay with that too. With Sami potentially getting into the potentially losing the match and then maybe getting into the Royal Rumble. So I don't think that'll happen. And the only reason I don't think it'll happen is because it won't make sense for him to lose the championship match, get into the Rumble, whenever Adam Pearce said that there's 30 men, they're all confirmed. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that's just like lazy, like, Swiss cheese booking where there's so many holes in, but also at the same time, that could give some fire for Finn Balor to get a rematch at Elimination Chamber. And Finn Balor lost to CM Punk in his hometown. So why not Finn facing Punk in Punk's
love that.
Right?
I can see that.
And gives Finn Balor an opportunity, which I think ultimately will lead to a Finn Balor Dominic Mysterio match, but that's not what we're talking about. So I honestly think that if you want to go the crowd pop in Saudi, the understandable, we tried this with Jay last year. It kind of fell flat afterwards. I think you go Roman. I will say this. If Roman does not win, I would not be upset if Cody won again.
Oh, man.
Not my preference. Or somehow Jacob Fatu wins. Because I'm saying this, you mentioned about a triple threat match at WrestleMania. I think there's more of an opportunity of a Drew, Jacob, and Cody triple threat than it is for a women's match or it is for a Punk match. Because I think when you bring Drew in there, and I'm going to just like long book this, I don't think Drew loses at WrestleMania. I think you've done so much for Drew, and you don't need Cody to win again at WrestleMania, even though he has more losses than, he's 2-2 since he's come back. Or 2-3 because he had 2 matches at WrestleMania 40. Anyway, so
yeah, you're right.
Yeah, so but you just don't need that from Cody. You need Cody to overcome more obstacles to build him back up. But the long breath that I have here is I really think that they're going to go with the sure thing instead of another chance of a Jey Uso, when they know if Roman wins, Roman could go to a Drew because they have a history. I mean, Clash in the Castle a couple of years ago, you can build that for a few weeks, and then Roman finally decide it's going to be CM Punk. CM Punk was the guy that really ultimately had a massive downfall for Roman Reigns whenever Roman gave him Paul Heyman.
Yeah.
So I'm right now, I'm going to, the time of this recording, I'm going to go Roman Reigns winning. But I mean, I can make
We'll check in with you on Saturday.
Yeah, I mean, can't you make a case for like 5 or 6 people here, though, right? Him, Jay, him, Jacob, Cody. I mean, if they really wanted to throw a curveball for us, they could do somebody like a Logan Paul or a Braun Breaker, which wouldn't be that much of a curveball, but it would be something. Like, there's so many opportunities for them to decide. But again, I think the sure thing is what they're thinking of right now.
Selfishly, I'd love for him to win this year. And I know how much you love me predicting way out ahead of it. I even thought like last year that not this year, but next 2027 would be perfect for Jacob Fatu to win the Royal Rumble.
Sure, I agree with that.
Because he's on such an ascent, but I think he's still just not in position yet. I think he's over. I think he could win it this year, and I would not be shocked. He could be in a main event, triple threat, whatever. I wouldn't be shocked, but I think he could get into a triple threat by canceling himself out with Cody. Like, I don't think he needs to win it or Cody to win it to get there. You can have shenanigans happen at the Chamber. There's so much else you could do the other part that we're not talking about that is like annoying because they're smarter than us. We are all fooled with Seth Rollins. If Seth Rollins somehow, he said he's not in the match, but it could be work. I don't believe that for a second.
Yeah.
He says, I'm not cleared. So to me, ultimately, I think he's probably not in it, but that makes me think Braun Breaker could, and more than likely, if it's not Roman, I think Braun Breaker will win this match. And if that happens, Seth could come back and be pissed. Well, he'll feign being happy for Braun, and then you get that, Triple H Batista thumbs up, thumbs down thing, and they kind of turn on Braun, and that's where you get, because Braun Breaker's already so popular, even though he's at the, in this heel faction. And I think if you got a Seth Rollins to tell everybody else to turn on Braun, it's right there for the taking. And then Braun Breaker can just be the top, a top badass guy. So I think that happens with or without Seth being in the match, but I'd love for Seth to somehow show up and cost Braun, or say, hey, like, let me win, like, Braun, like, eliminate yourself, something like that.
Yeah, and I can see, I don't know if I see Seth happening at the Royal Rumble. I don't know how healthy he is, right? Like, I don't think anybody really knows.
That's the problem, is that
that's a problem, Jimmy. Yeah, but I also think like, you can have a Braun and Seth feud start 6 weeks later, a month later, at Elimination Chamber, and that could be your match at Rumble, or excuse me, at WrestleMania. And then the Vision could like choose a side, even though they might be in other matches
without the title on the line. I agree.
Correct. Yeah, absolutely. Like Seth is a guy that whether he's a world champion or whether he's competing for championship matches, I mean, aside from his cash in, Seth's best matches are when their championship's not on the line. Last year's triple threat match, his match against Randy Orton at WrestleMania 31, like Seth is his match against Triple H at 33, a great story. That's the one big thing that I think Seth does not get as much credit for, is he can book and really make a story better when there's not a championship on the line. And I think this is a perfect opportunity for him to get his comeuppance against the Vision, if that's really the plan, if he's really healthy going into WrestleMania. So that, in that aspect, that makes me kind of think, well, Braun's not going to win. Maybe Austin Theory accidentally knocks him over. You know what I mean?
I could see that, because he could use some heel heat, and if Theory is the one to take out one of his own, again, people are going to side with Braun Breaker no matter what side he is, babyface or heel.
Yep.
Can I present this to you?
Sure.
Even regardless of how the Rumble ends, and we talked already about triple threats, I've long thought that the best way to go about the Roman Punk Seth of it all and revisit that is to run back that triple threat at Mania, but with the title on the line, like Punk coming in as champion. Because last year the story was Paul Heyman, he's with Roman, he's with Punk, but he's in Punk's corner, but he goes with Rollins, and now he'd be with Rollins, Punk's champion, and Roman could have won the Rumble. Like, all the dynamics completely change in the same type of match. And I think it could make the match just as good, if not with more intrigue. Yeah. But I don't know. I don't know how. Maybe if Roman wins the Rumble, that's how you could get there. I just don't know. I have no idea.
I haven't even thought of that, to be honest with you, Juice. But I love that idea. That's your night 2 main event. Those 3 guys running it back, because that was probably the best. Maybe one of the best matches the entire weekend last year.
One, if not the best. It's probably, if it's not 2, it's or if it's not 1, it's 2 for sure.
Yeah. So doing that, it's interesting. I mean, you think about it, it's so funny because I don't think many people thought that the triple threat match between those 3 guys would have happened at WrestleMania last year, because everybody thought Punk was going to get a championship match. But then you see, obviously, Punk eliminates Seth and Roman at the Rumble, and then you're like, oh, okay, this is where they're going to go with this. These 3 guys, all of them don't really like each other. I would have no problem running it back. I've always been a fan of triple threat matches when the talent are important enough. And Seth has always been the guy that he's always the bridesmaid, right? Like, he's never been as popular as Punk. He's definitely not have ever been as popular as Roman Reigns. So you think like, okay, have this triple threat match with Punk as champion. Does Punk retain? Potentially. Does Roman go back on the throne? Maybe. Does Seth steal one again? Because it's really always what Seth Rollins' MO has been, is like stealing those moments from people he hates. It's interesting. Now, not to completely diverge from that, but going to the Royal Rumble match in general, you have all these pieces. Where does a potential Chris Jericho come
in? Well, someone that has not been announced yet.
But rumored.
Well, yes, but I'm not talking about Jericho. Someone that has not been announced yet I think is obviously going to be there. Plus, I saw some signage. I don't know what spoiler that could bring.
Yeah.
I think if LA Knight's in this match and Chris Jericho's in this match, I have long been the thought of these two would make great work. They could be a tag team. They could go against each other. They could just cut promos against each other. Anything that involves either of those two guys in the same capacity, one way or the other, I think is gold. And that's a great way to introduce a Jericho. I mean, that could be a WrestleMania match, you know? And look, Fandango, Johnny Curtis just retired. How did he, after wrestling for so long, how did he get on the map? Being Fandango and winning WrestleMania match against Chris Jericho. LA Knight has been around for a very long time. How can he get another notch higher? Beating Chris Jericho at WrestleMania. And I just think that, you start maybe that type of thing now. And I don't see why not. I think, like I said, they could be a tag team for a 5 seconds. They could go against each other just on the mic. I think there's gold there. So that's what I'd like to see between those two. Outside of that, I don't know what kind of surprises. I mean, the only surprises that we could conceive of, LA Knight, if it's, a surprise or not, Jericho, Seth Rollins, that, other than that, what other Brock, right. Yeah. So if Brock comes in, like I said, give me Brock Gunther, Brock Roman, even though we've seen it, it's still exciting that it's legacy. Brock and Braun, Brock and Obafemi, man. And Javon Evans is in this match. Could he get the Kofi spot? I think he could pull off something crazier than Kofi ever did.
Yeah, you're a little butthurt that they did his entrance on a commercial break, huh?
They did his signing on a commercial break. So
signing and then his announcement of entering the Royal Rumble.
Maybe he'll come out during an ad break on ESPN.
So my thought with Jericho, I completely agree with you. I think him and LA Knight are destined to have a really, really great story. The only concern that I have about that is Jericho's going to come back to fanfare. LA Knight is going to come back to fanfare.
Yeah.
Like, people aren't ready to give up on LA Knight, and people still love LA Knight. So maybe they could, face each other at WrestleMania. I'd be all for it. But also at the same time, I see Jericho and LA Knight. I don't know if a tag team is a great thing to do for a WrestleMania match, but both of them have had not both of them, excuse me. LA Knight has had so many issues with the vision, and you have to figure Logan Paul is going to have a match at WrestleMania. Bronson Reed's going to have a match. Do you do Logan and Jericho?
I could see that. Well, you could. I mean, if Bronson, I mean, you could do some part of the Vision versus an LA Knight in Jericho, if that's what you wanted to do.
You could, yeah.
Man, you're right. It's tough with you don't know what's going to happen with the Vision. Like, how are they gonna separate everybody? Like, if Braun has a title match, how's that going to work?
Yeah.
Is that going to be obvious or not?
I just think there's the one thing I think is a guarantee is Logan Paul will have a match at WrestleMania. I just don't know what that match looks like. Like, could you have, the Vision, the three guys on Saturday, Logan, Bronson, and Theory against a Jericho and LA Knight and whoever, right? Or do you have a one-on-one match with Logan Paul and Jericho? Do you have an LA Knight and Bronson or an LA Knight and Theory, which that doesn't do much for me. But that Logan Paul is going to be not just in the corner of Braun Breaker or whomever for their match at WrestleMania. So I think the easy way to go is, Jericho, he comes back. Logan Paul says, hey, another old guy coming in, yada, yada, yada. Yeah, I'm really tired today. Like, there's a good opportunity for Jericho to come in, get a big match with Logan Paul. And then, again, we go back to what we were talking about for the Rumble winners. Like, there's so many opportunities and options. This might be the most loaded WrestleMania card in terms of talent than we've ever seen. Like, every match has every match could have importance or intrigue too.
I agree. Like I said, I'd hate to leave LA Knight off the WrestleMania card. And I think you could build, all you got to do is build up. Like, let's just say they were to do a tag. If LA Knight and Jericho wanted to do a tag thing, you could have them break up and split almost instantly after that. Like, Jericho could go back to being a heel. Yeah. There's so many options.
Yeah.
He is, but people are going to love him immediately, no matter where the crowds are. I'd also like to point out, I think it'd be incredible if you had whichever version of El Grande Americano, and then Chad Gable returns. And he's like, wow, it could be anything. It could be Chad Gable as Chad Gable going, what the hell is this? Or Chad Gable being El Grande Americano, and there being two of them. There's so many different ways, but Chad Gable looks jacked from what I've seen recently, so I'd love to see him return and think, everybody, who is this guy? I hate that. And you could reestablish Chad Gable if Chad Gable beat the hell out of El Grande Americano. That's like an easy way.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But then you also have, hopefully Mysterio is not long-term hurt, but then you have him, Penta, and Rey Fenix.
Yeah,
Dragon Lee, not Rey Fenix, Dragon Lee. But it's like you have those three. Do they face the Americana? Like, there's so many.
I can see that happening for sure. If as long as Ray's still in the match. Well, hey, if he's hurt, Finn Balor, call him up.
Yeah, or Finn versus Dom, which I think is going to happen at WrestleMania.
We have a spot. Well, man, we just booked ourselves that. Rey Mysterio might be shoot hurt. Finn Balor comes into the match for that, and then Dom, who's maybe in the match that we don't know about, eliminates Finn Balor. There you go.
Yeah, there's a lot. I think whenever you look at the men, I would put money on you seeing Brock Lesnar, LA Knight. I think you have to have Jericho. I mean, there's all the rumors and speculation. A lot of people thought he was coming back at the Brooklyn Raw, the first Raw of 2026. I think you have Jericho, Brock, Chad Gable, LA Knight, 4 guys that are unannounced, a couple of NXT guys, maybe one male NXT guy. But because you have Obafemi, Trick Williams will likely be in there. Randy will likely be in there. So all those guys.
Matt Cardona,
yeah. So all those guys that were in that triple threat match, and then some of the newer guys that just got brought back or debuted, I think you have those in there. So it's funny because Obafemi, in my opinion, is going to dominate the Rumble. He might be in there for 10 or 15 minutes, but I can see him just plowing through 7 or 8 people. But then it goes back to who are those 7 or 8 people? Because every single Royal Rumble has this. It has 7 or 8 guys that have absolutely no chance of winning the Royal Rumble. And they're used in Miz, R-Truth. It's so interesting because they have so much talent, but you can't have 28 heavy hitters because you have to have those 6 or 7 guys that take those easy eliminations.
Yeah, and I think Obafemi having that spot where he just kind of decimates a lot of people is intriguing. Yeah. We talked about briefly that Rumble that Drew won, where Lesnar was in there as WWE champion and held out the first 15 guys, and then Drew took him out. That is something that I love to see, is you get a story within the match.
Yeah.
And if it's Oba dominating, if it's Lesnar, what if Lesnar's number one? Whoever comes out and is dominant, and then here comes Roman, here comes Obafemi. Yep. Give me Obafemi, Braun Breaker, Roman Reigns, Gunther, and Lesnar as a 5-person at one point, and just have the whole place just melt down.
Yeah, I mean,
oh man,
I think the Obafemi thing is going to be similar to, but probably even more so, similar to how Lesnar saw Keith Lee at the Royal Rumble. This boy right here, and Obafemi is. No offense to Keith Lee, he's much more just physically
He's
empowering.
taller too.
He's taller and he's just more in shape in terms of that.
Well, he's a younger guy. Yeah, for sure.
Sure, yeah. It's going to be so interesting. I mean, this Rumble in general has so many opportunities to make guys, even if they don't win.
And that's what the Rumble really is for. It's making stars without winning.
Yeah.
I mean, just to steal a line from Matt Cardona is getting over without going over.
Yeah.
And that is this is the match that is defined by that. I mean, everybody what do we always talk about? Who's in the final four? Yep. Those guys are going to be the big stars come WrestleMania season, no matter who ends up winning.
Give me your final four.
Give me your final four. Wow. Gunther has to be in there. He has to be, right? Here's my thing. It all depends on when the match happens, right? If I would wager this match has to go on last.
I think so too. Yeah.
So if Gunther defeats AJ Styles, I mean, does AJ come back and eliminate Gunther without being in the match, causing another match? I doubt that they do that. So I have no idea. So I think he has to be in there, long in the tooth after beating all these guys. So give me Gunther, give me Roman Reigns, man. God. Braun Breaker and Jacob Fatu.
Okay. I'm going to go with.
I think Cody will get eliminated at some point just before. I think Fatu will get Cody right before the final four. And I think even if Lesnar's in there, I think someone will take him out just before to get to the final four. Because I think any of those guys could flip and it could be a whole nother final four.
Yeah. I think it's going to be Roman Reigns, Gunther, Obafemi.
Oh, man.
And my fourth will probably be probably Cody. I would say Cody fourth.
The final four is almost more intriguing to pick than the winner because you don't have to pick the winner. You just who the next guy is going to be.
Yeah. Man. I think it's going to be those four, and I think Roman ultimately wins.
Oh, wow. Man, so then what? Roman goes after Drew or Punk?
I think Punk.
Roman goes after the quote secondary title.
I think so too. Yeah, I think so.
Wow.
Because as much as the undisputed title, I mean, let's be honest, whenever CM Punk won the World Heavyweight Championship, I do think that felt just as important, if not more, than Cody being the undisputed champion.
I tend to agree. I just think that the optics of this particular World Heavyweight title being created within the last 3 or 4 years and the WWE title having that lineage.
Sure.
And Cody or Drew won it from Cody, and who Cody took it off of, Cena, and Roman held that one. It's
sure.
The optics of it make it seem bizarre that not that Roman couldn't hold it. I always equated it to just certain title designs back in WCW, the tiny WCW title. I never could have envisioned the giant holding. He got to hold the big gold belt. They transitioned to a different championship because I think it just looks better.
Yeah, for sure. And I agree with that. But what's more important, Netflix or the USA Network?
Well, you say that, but if you want to build up the USA Network, you get Roman Reigns on there.
Sure. There's also 3 hours. Yeah.
Yeah, you got plenty of time. And I think, Netflix, I mean, they're all going to sell without it, right? No matter who's on the show.
Yeah.
But Netflix is really going to be fine regardless. And when you have USA, you got to still have your Codys. You're probably going to have Roman on there. Unless we don't know where Obafemi is going to be. That's the other thing. I think Obafemi is going to destroy a lot of people and make a big impact. And then I think you're going to get that Nick Aldis, Adam Pearce, bidding war over where is he going to really go to? I want that guy on my roster.
Sure. Yeah.
So I don't know where he'll land. I want to say SmackDown because, like you said, there's 3 hours, but I think Obafemi could go right to Raw and really, really cause some havoc. Him and Gunther almost immediately could be a thing.
Yeah.
You know?
All the options on the table, Juice. All the options.
All the options, yeah. So yeah, I think if it's not Sami Zayn in my ultimate pick, I think I'm gonna take Braun Breaker to win this thing. You've got
Okay.
Roman Reigns.
I do.
Wow. I think it's gonna be one hell of a show, man. I look forward to the Royal Rumble every single year. And this one, man, 4 matches, men's rumble, women's rumble, an undisputed title match, and then a career-threatening match with one of the greatest wrestlers of our time. Man, it's looking stacked, man. What are your last thoughts about the Royal Rumble PLE before we close up this edition of the Juice Box?
I think for me, it's expect the unexpected. Even though
Right.
things might look that, you might have an idea of what WrestleMania will look like. I think last year showed us as much as you think things are going to be this way, there's always a curveball that comes in there. And also the Royal Rumble is great, but at the same time, there's 2 other opportunities at Elimination Chamber that can give other championship matches, which can ultimately be the main event. So I'm excited for it, Juice. I can't wait to see what happens. I'm gonna, just be extremely interested in see which talent, men's and women's, stand out the most. So looking forward to it.
Me too, man. Like I said, probably my favorite PLE of the year outside of WrestleMania. It's got the most intrigue, the surprise factor. It really just reigns supreme. And for, my hope, I hope Roman doesn't reign supreme to help out your predictions. But always appreciate you hopping in the Juice Box, Josh, at Josh Isenberg 4 on Twitter. I'm at Juicy Steen on Twitter. Tweet along 2 p.m. Saturday for the Royal Rumble PLE live from Riyadh in Saudi Arabia. Man, love this episode. Appreciate Josh for coming in. And we'll talk to you guys next week with some Royal Rumble reactions and more right here on the Juice Box. That was the Juice Box with Juice Springsteen. Make sure to subscribe to the Juice Box wherever you listen to podcasts.